Our friendship was so deep that we wanted to touch each other. And we did one night.
Well, that was the first time I had actually saw her do drugs.
Cocaine.
Yes, ma'am.
Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown were married for 14 years, but it was definitely not a marriage made in heaven. You will not find romantic meals for two and cute gestures here. Instead, you can expect acts of infidelity, allegations of abuse, and fatal drug addiction. So without further ado, brace yourself as we take a look inside Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown's fatal relationship. At the time of meeting, they were both excelling in their respective music careers. They met at the Soul Train Music Awards in Los Angeles back in 1989, where Brown picked up an award for his album Don't Be Cruel.
Play of the year, play of the year. Macaroni to the bone.
And they said I was crazy, huh?
Whitney was also enjoying the aftermath of success from hits such as How Will I Know, Greatest Love of All, and One Moment in Time, which had all taken the world by storm. Almost immediately, it was clear that Houston had the hots for Brown, both personally and professionally. She would later tell Rolling Stone magazine that she thought he was hot. He was on fire. Apparently, Houston was sitting behind Brown at the awards with some friends. She had accidentally hit him on the head whilst hugging someone else and had leaned over to say sorry. He didn't seem too impressed, and he asked her to make sure it didn't happen again, implying that he didn't like her too much. Houston, however, saw this as a challenge, and before long, the couple were dating. Fast forward a few months, and talk of dating had turned into marriage. However, Houston actually turned down Brown's first proposal. For her, the time wasn't right, and marriage just wasn't part of her plan. Some people also questioned the suitability of the pair, owing to the fact that Brown was a bad boy, publicly known to have been shot, involved in gangs, and already the father to 3 kids with 2 other women. In contrast, Houston had a squeaky clean record, was loved by the world, and wrote cute songs about love and monogamy. Despite her initial concerns, Houston eventually gave in to Brown's charms, and the couple got married at her estate on the 18th of July, 1992. Houston said, "Bobby and I basically come from the same place. Bobby comes from Boston out of the projects. I come from Newark out of the projects. Bobby has 2 very strong parents. I have 2 very strong parents." She had also developed a liking for bad boys after dating actor and comedian Eddie Murphy earlier in the 1980s. In the aftermath of their wedding, Vanity Fair suggested that they were made for each other, and like Ginger, Bobby gives charge to the pure image of Whitney while she graces him with a veneer of class. Finally, it seemed as though the doubters were to be proven wrong, at least for the first few months of their marriage anyway. Those that thought Bobby would ruin Houston's career were left dumbfounded when she once again entered the spotlight for her role in the film The Bodyguard, and the accompanying success of soundtracks such as I Have Nothing, Run to You, and I Will Always Love You. She would go on to win 3 Grammy Awards. Furthermore, those that claimed the relationship wouldn't last were equally shocked when in March the following year, the couple announced the birth of their daughter, Bobby Christina Brown. That said, it wouldn't be long before gossip would circulate about things not being well behind closed doors. Just a few months later, reports suggested that Houston had actually begun a bisexual affair with Robin Crawford before she married to Brown. Crawford was an employee of Houston's, had been a close friend at school, and had even agreed to be her maid of honor. Despite Houston initially denying the rumors, in a 2019 interview, Crawford would tell The Wendy Williams Show that they had a deep friendship, which involved touching each other.
Our friendship was so deep that we wanted to touch each other. And we did one night, and it was everything.
In 2008, Brown also released a documentary called Bobby Brown, The Truth, the Whole Truth, and Nothing But, in which he admits that he thought the marriage was doomed from the start. He says that Houston had a different agenda to him. She needed to clean up her image after the bisexual affair rumors, and the only way to put them to bed was to get married to him. He explained that she thought the marriage would kill all speculations, whether it was true or not. He would also later admit to cheating on Houston too, blaming the women that are always throwing themselves on him. His excuse was that he believed he was only human and sometimes made the mistake of letting testosterone take over. Infidelity aside, there would be another factor to cause a strain on Houston and Brown's marriage. Just a few years after saying their vows, the pair entered the tabloids for their growing drug use. It was originally thought that it was Brown who had first introduced Houston to the habit, but in his memoir, Every Little Step, he denies this, stating that Houston was already doing drugs on their wedding day.
Now, you broke tradition a little bit and saw her before the wedding.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the first time I had actually saw her do drugs.
Cocaine.
Yes, ma'am.
Bobby says in his upcoming book, Every Little Step, he found his bride-to-be, quote, hunched over a bureau, snorting a line of coke.
For Houston, drugs were a way to escape her demons, but sadly, they only made things worse for her. She had started to become increasingly unreliable, late to meetings, and on some occasions had even failed to turn up altogether. Her behavior reached critical point in 1999 when she canceled a series of shows, including a sold-out concert in her hometown of Newark just 15 minutes before showtime. Apparently, all of her fans were seated when the word came that she had developed throat problems and wouldn't be able to sing. According to NJ.com, one fan was so upset, they said, "I would never go to see her again. How do you cancel a concert at 8 p.m.? Fans would also go on to comment on how much weight she had lost when she arrived at a Michael Jackson commemorative concert looking incredibly thin. Needless to say, the tabloids had a field day. Despite the rumors of drug dependency, her publicist made a statement which explained, "Whitney has been under stress due to family matters, and when she is under stress, she doesn't eat." The passing of her father from heart disease didn't help things, and the news of one of her closest mentors being ousted from Arista Records would only make things worse. In March 2000, she was due to perform at the Oscars, but the performance didn't go ahead. She said that she had backed out because of a sore throat, but other sources claimed that she was dropped due to a poor rehearsal. By 2002, Houston finally admitted to having a problem in a primetime interview with ABC's Diane Sawyer. She said that she used pot, coke, alcohol, and pills, but denied ever using crack, famously saying, "Let's get that straight, okay? I don't do crack. I don't do that. Crack is whack."
Crack is cheap. I make too much money to ever smoke crack. Let's get that straight, okay? We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack.
In both 2004 and 2005, she entered a drug rehab facility in an effort to clean up her life, but sadly, efforts were unsuccessful. In 2006, Brown's sister leaked photos to the National Enquirer of Houston surrounded in her bathroom with clear evidence of drug use. At the time, Brown said he was doing everything he could to help her, insisting it takes two to make things work. Whilst Houston was busy battling her demons, Brown too was fighting his own, and they would regularly lock themselves away in corners of their home to get high away from the sight of their daughter. In 2002, he was arrested in Atlanta for being caught in possession of pot and speeding whilst having no proof of insurance or driver's license. He posted bail but was taken to a nearby DeKalb County jail where he was wanted for failing to appear for previous driving charges in 1997. These separate events included driving under the influence, speeding, failing to maintain a lane, and having no proof of insurance. He was released on a $10,000 bond. In 2003, he was also arrested for hitting Houston after a weekend altercation. Apparently, officers were called to their home when Brown had explained he was going to beat her. Shortly after, he had hit her with his right hand, resulting in visible injuries to her face, including a bruise on her left cheek and a cut inside her upper lip.
A verbal confrontation, and he had made the comment to her that he was going to kick her. time, he took his right hand, open right hand, and struck her on the left side of the face. About an inch circumference bruise, visible bruise, on the left side of her face, around the cheek area, and on the inside of her lip, upper left portion of her lip, the lip was cut inside.
Remarkably, Houston supported Brown in court, and after he was charged with battery, she told reporters outside that "we're still together." As they drove away, the song "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman" was playing loud on the couple's car stereo whilst Brown kissed her bruised cheek. In a 2009 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Houston would deny any long-term physical abuse between the pair and explain that he was only emotionally abusive. She said, "He slapped me once, but he got hit in the head 3 times by me."
So he never touched you?
No.
Never laid a hand on you?
Like, he slapped me once.
Yeah.
You know, but he got hit over the head 3 times.
Yeah.
With
By
something.
you?
By me, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, okay, you're going too far.
So that was the barrier that you held. That
Right.
Once you touched
But
me.
emotionally?
Yeah, emotionally.
As he spoke, his words, horrifying.
Regardless, in 2005, the drug use and infidelity finally caught up and the couple separated. By 2006, after 14 years of marriage, Houston confirmed she had filed for divorce from Brown and had obtained custody of their daughter, Bobby Christina. Houston would later appear on The Oprah Winfrey Show to explain that Brown was her drug and that her habit had become heavy after The Bodyguard was released. Despite holding on for 14 years, she told Oprah that she knew the marriage wasn't going to work and that she'd only kept it going so long to prove all the doubters wrong.
I think after seeing you on that show, started to really worry about you and what was really going on with you. What was going on with you at that time?
There were a few things.
Were you happy?
No.
Were you happy with him? Were you happy with the relationship?
I wasn't happy with the marriage.
You weren't happy with the marriage. Were you happy with yourself?
I was losing me into that.
Into the marriage?
Yeah, by trying to be pleasing.
Were you also trying to, because the world had said it wouldn't last 6 minutes, were you also trying to prove the world wrong?
I was determined to prove them wrong.
She said that on top of the drugs, Brown's continued womanizing forced her to uncover the truth, and when she found it, she gradually started removing herself from the home. She remained adamant that she was in the marriage for the long haul and never cheated. She just did drugs. On the 11th of February 2012, aged just 48, Houston was found lifeless in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. The official cause from the coroner was accidental drowning, with evidence of heart disease and coke in her system being contributing factors.
Singer Whitney Houston, one of the greatest voices of our generation, CNN has gotten confirmation from her representative, has died.
Later, in 2015, her daughter, Bobby Christina, would also be found unconscious in disturbingly similar circumstances. She was discovered in a bathtub at her Georgia home, where doctors placed her in a medically induced coma. 6 months later, she passed away, with immersion associated with drug intoxication being the underlying cause. When she had been discovered in the bathtub, cannabis, alcohol, and other prescription drugs had been found in her system. Following her demise, Brown pressed for Bobby Christina's boyfriend, Nick Gordon, to be held accountable, and as a result, he was found liable in a civil case. In January 2020, he passed away as a result of an overdose. Furthermore, Brown's son, Bobby Brown Jr., who he fathered with Kim Ward, also passed away in 2020. He was found lifeless in his California home, with the combined effects of alcohol, coke, and fentanyl being cited as the cause. In March 2021, Brown called for those responsible for his demise as a result of the accidental overdose to be held responsible. Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown's troubled relationship with drugs had catastrophic consequences, both for their marriage, their careers, and their loved ones. We're sure they did love each other at some point, but we can't help but wonder if the end to this story would have been different if they hadn't crossed paths that day at the Soul Train Music Awards. That said, there is no denying that Whitney Houston leaves behind a remarkable musical legacy. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more messy episodes.